emptiness, something like one coin, one face, emptiness, other face, interdependency.
Here that Dalai Lama is explaining that principle of 1 and 0, or the switch on or switch off. Or on the other hand, actually what he was explaining here is this existence and non-existence. In my previous episode, I mentioned about the binary in Buddha's teaching, where that I could see Buddha's teaching is more focused on this existence and the non-existence, which means that in binary form, 1 and 0, or the switched on or switched off. There I mentioned about that the 1 means our existence and the 0 means our non-existence. So today I'm going to explore a little bit more on that more and give some perspective for you to contemplate on dependent origination. When Buddha mentioned about dependent origination, he mentioned that it is good to explain that from the descending order rather than ascending order. But for the purpose of first understanding, it's easy to dependent origination on from the ascending order rather than descending order. So I will give it in ascending order this time. I can discuss the descending order later. At a Pali phrase of this dependent origination, which is Vijja Pachya Sankara Sankara Pachya Vijnana Vijnana Pachya Nama Rupa Pachya Salayatana Salayatana Pachya Passo Passa Pachya Vedana Vedana Pachya Tanna Tanna Pachya Upadana Upadana Pachya Bhava Bhava Pachya Jati Jara Marna Dukkha Domanasa Upayasa. That is the ascending order of this dependent origination. That means the starting point of this existence is the ignorance, which is avijja. That ignorance itself is the ignorance of our thirst. That's how I interpret that, or that's how I can see, I can experience it. Once you have that ignorance, once you have that thirst, so that means that your urge or your uh, longing to connect with something, that longing, if you don't identify that longing, that means you are ignorance of that longing. That is why ignorance is the first link of this dependent origination. Once you have that kind of a thirst within you, or the longing within, what will happen is we'll prepare for this existence. That is why Vijapacha Sankara, preparation. Sankara means preparation. This preparation is translated as mental formation. With that preparation, you will actually come into the consciousness. That is what is called a vijnana, or the consciousness itself. So that is like a cognition. Now you have the cognition of that thirst, and because of that you do have that notion of name and form. When you say name and form, in the sense, it's kind of just a notion that really you do have, which is we call nama rupa, and it is not a substance or anything. It is actually your urge or your longing identified in a different dense level. Originally, when you start up with your thirst, what you have is kind of a little notion of, okay, I need something, kind of. And this is very subtle, and it's subtle, that need or that longing, it become a little bit of a preparation, because that has the tendency to expand a little bit or the grab a little bit. So with that expansion or the grabbing notion, that really you start with your consciousness, and with that consciousness or the vijnana, and with that actually you go into this name and form. So you are now creating a little bit more of this. After that, it is starting your six senses. That is called salayatana. So I wanted to go back again to give an analogy for this. This is like as you familiar with the scientific discovery of this amoeba, the one cell, and then that cell is being divided into two and divided into three, and then multiplied little by little. Similarly, this little thirst that really you didn't know or you ignored, that little thirst or that longing is just becoming two or three, four, five kind of a expansion. That is what the dependent origination means. That really with that one self, it become two cells, three cells. That similar pattern, that once you have that ignorance of that thirst, then you start your preparation part of it. So it and grow a little bit, and then grow again to that consciousness, and then from the consciousness it goes to the actual the form, name and form, and from name and form you started this salayatana, which is six senses. When you say six senses, they are all without any physical appearance. This is just a form, and with that actually you do have that contact kind of the sense that really you are connecting with something else. So that contact is actually, it's called the sparsha, or the more like your sensation for something too. And then that sensation, or that sensation is going into the longing is now really grown up with you. So that longing, that sensation is feel that now. It's called a Vedana. Vedana is actually feeling. So with that feeling, now you have that kind of a grabbing notion, like a fish is now looking for the baits to eat it. So that grabbing sensation is the one that really we call desire or craving. With that craving, you do have a notion of clinging now. So the clinging means actually your upadana. And with the upadana, you becoming or bhava, you will get into this cycle of rebirth. That is what we call bhava. So because of the bhava, actually you do have this jati, in the sense you are born into this world as a physical appearance, which will happen once you conceive into your mother's womb. So from there onward, your physical appearance or the physical existence starts, and come into life, and been in the womb for a while, and then you're born into this world. With that, you bring the death as well. So that's the dependence thing. Because of the birth, you will die. So that is the loop of dependent origination. And the last one is actually, of course, the in between those birth and death, we will be suffering. So that suffering is that dis-ease that we come with that birth, and likewise, so the your existence prevail, and after death you will be reborn again. That's how this dependent origination uh, cycle go along. But when you think about that, you might think that it's a kind of a long process, that really, okay, before the birth you have this, and then again you started with this and all that. But actually, that is not the fact. Fact is actually this particular process of dependent origination happens every fraction of a second, or even much subtler level, at word use here is kshanaya. Kshanaya is like a fraction of a second, as we say. That fraction could be million times of a fraction of a second. So that is been continuously happening all throughout this time. So that is how you feel that really you are, and more solid for you. You think that is very solid, very physical thing, but in fact it is a vibration of this whole universe. So that is the actual the ascending order of the dependent origination. So if you go back to the descending order, now as we talked about earlier in different episode, that really we have to identify that we are suffering from a disease. That means disease, like Allan was mentioned. So this so that first understanding of that itself is a kind of a you are going towards the wisdom, because the now you are eliminating one part of the your ignorance, which is all this time you have been ignorance about this existence, and then you are thinking of you can satisfy and you can be happy, but in the same time you will be having miseries and difficulties and all that changing nature. But you've taken that for granted and you are feeling that everything is okay. So, but if you understand this is actually a disease, in the sense that really we are suffering in this world, that is one step towards that your wisdom, in the sense that really you are now descending on the dependent origination. So now, if you understood this existence is a suffering or is a changing nature, and have that inclination to find the rest of the things, now you getting closer to your closer to the wisdom, and with that, now you need to identify that first we are being reborn all the time. So then you when you get that understanding, then you can go back to why you can ask the question why we are being reborn. That we are being reborn because of this cycle of rebirth. Now, yeah, when you understand that cycle of rebirth is the cause for this, and then you inquire what is the reason for this cycle of rebirth. That is the reason is becoming in the sense that you are clinging into something. Because of that, you are becoming. For instance, that if you cling into your name, you have that name. Or if you're clinging to your race, you have that race. If you're clinging to that your nationality, you will have that nationality within you. The and then similarly, that you are clinging into something, so that clinging in bring that becoming. So that is that becoming. The reason for becoming or the cause for becoming is that clinging. So how did you get that clinging? That clinging is because you the reason for that clinging is that you're feeling you have that feeling of something, so that feeling itself give you the desire to become. So that's the descending order of that desire, or the cause for desire is that feeling. How do you get that feeling? That feeling is comes with your sensation. So that is that sparsha, or the sensation. So how this sensation comes to life? Because of that sense, because of you have the six senses, or the salayatana, you have that sensation. Because of that you have that desire, and because of the desire you become, and because of you becoming, so you have that cycle of rebirth, and then because of that you will be born, and then you will die. So that I'm just recap the this descending order. So once you come back to that your six senses, of course the that's your salayatana. It comes because of that really you have the your name and form, that we call it nama rupa, because nama rupa, that notion of nama rupa, which could be just before your physical appearance, even that. So that comes through, and with that, of course, the cause for this nam rupa is that your consciousness or your cognition ability, that consciousness, and that comes because of that your preparation of that your ignorance or your longing that you ignored at the very first time. So again, going back to that, ignorance means that you're very subtle a level that you're clinging into something, or very subtle a level you're longing to be something. That, if you understand that properly, or if you really have the insight to that occurrence, you will go beyond this ignorance and go into that wisdom or the non-existence. So that is the descending order of dependent origination. I hope you followed through this experiential insight into dependent origination that Buddha has given as the key to this existence. And it may be very complicated or complex for a secular mind, but I'm hoping that you have listened to it more clearly and comprehend it. To add to this discussion, I would like to bring His Holiness Dalai Lama's statement about this particular fact, just to summarize to end the discussion.
So, broadly, this, according to science or in many fields, you see, we accept that there is gap, appearance and reality. So now, Buddhist philosophy, particularly the Madhyamaka philosophy, say appearance looks independent existence, but the reality, none exists by independently. Everything due to other factor. So here is the concept, absence of independent existence there. That's shunyata now. So shunyata or emptiness, something like one coin, one face, emptiness. Other face, interdependency.
Here that Dalai Lama is explaining that principle of 1 and 0, or the switch on or switch off. Or on the other hand, actually what he was explaining here is this existence and non-existence.
So emptiness does not mean nothingness. Emptiness, absence of independent existence. Clear?
Here's a very crucial point here is that really the emptiness means absence of interdependence or the dependent origination. So if I go to my analogy, the 1 means the interdependence or the dependent origination. 0 means that emptiness, which is the other side of the coin, according to Dalai Lama. And it is the same principle that really you could see on the binary, which is 1 and 0.